Hey beautiful beasts, how's it going? Today I wanted to talk about Valorant a little bit more. With the actual game release after the closed beta and a lot of new people coming into the game, I feel like this guide on weapons should be made. Of course, I've seen plenty on YouTube from Valorant guides, a big YouTube channel, for example, but there is a little inconsistency I noticed, which is they just talk about every gun and kind of give you the most basic information. They don't actually tell you which gun is best, which gun is worst. There are very few general guidelines, such as don't use shotguns if you're on an attacker side, this kind of stuff, that I'm gonna quickly go over to essentially help you with picking the best guns for your buck. Alright guys, without further ado, let's begin. Alright, so you're a seasoned CSGO or Rainbow Six or Team Fortress player, hey? And just like me, you probably has gotten hyped up about this new game by Riot Games that's being released, Valorant. So if you're a little bit experienced in general FPS shooter games with spray patterns and team economy, it's gonna be a little bit easier for you. But still, it's good to kind of know the basics of Valorant. Because despite it being so-called CSGO killer or CSGO competitor, things still vary quite a bit. Alright, let's think. Where do we start? And if you said pistol round, you're absolutely correct. Pistol round begins every game where there is very little money, so you have to use it wisely. Valorant offers us 5 pistol options. We got the classic pistol, shorty, frenzy, ghost, and sheriff. I mean, there's very little to explain about the classic. After all, it's the default pistol, it's the weakest, it's kind of all-around balanced, whatever you want to call it. Shorty is a replication of a sawed-off shotgun if you used to play CSGO, only comes with 2 bullets, essentially only good for one enemy. If more than one enemy is pushing you, there is very high chance you're gonna lose. Frenzy is like CZ75 from CSGO, it's an automatic pistol that's actually pretty cool, but it only has so many bullets, and when we're talking automatic, you know what that means. If you don't kill your enemies, if you're not smart with your bullets, you may kill one but get shot while reloading. Ghost is kind of a USPC pistol in CSGO, and it's kind of sweet for the first round if you are sure you can land a headshot or a few bullets to the chest. And the last one, but not the least one, in fact the most one, is the sheriff. Or, as many would call it, a good old deagle. Alright, so let me quickly tell you which pistol would be the best one. For any round, if you need a pistol, whether it's eco or full buy, except for the first one, you should probably get a sheriff. While it's gonna be troublesome to beat your enemy one-on-one if the enemy has a phantom, vandal, or an operator, for example, you stay a strong chance if the person is with a shotgun and you're not in a very close range, or if the person is with an SMG, running and gunning, you know. Now, for the pistol round. If you're a support character like Sage, your best bet is to getting a light shield and frenzy. While most people don't follow this advice, it seems to be the biggest payoff, especially if the support character is also the spy carrier. This way you can get somebody like Jet or Phoenix to push the site with a ghost, for example, and slowly go with a frenzy, and then you'll have more strength while fighting close range and holding the side. This setup will work for both T and CT sides if you're trying to win the round. If you're a push character like Phoenix or Jet, just get a ghost, that's it. Of course, I wanted to mention just as a little disclaimer that I'm talking solo queue because it's really hard to predict the actual team action when playing solo queue. If you have a team and you have your own specific team assigned roles and rules and kind of buying guides, then it doesn't really apply, right? We're talking too much about pistols, let's move further. So now we got the SMG and shotgun section, and here it's pretty simple. Don't buy a shotgun if you're pushing. Even if you're holding the side, getting a shotgun doesn't guarantee you a win in a close quarters. Because of the inconsistency of shotguns in general in most games, you're better off investing in something like an SMG. Especially when it comes to spending 1500 on a Judge versus spending 1600 on a Spectre, or 1000, only 1000 on a Stinger. When I just started playing, I really like the shotguns and how much punch they pack, especially coming from CSGO where you can get max 7 and essentially destroy the entire team on banana, right? If they're stupid enough to push one by one. So you're free to experiment between shotguns and SMGs and seeing what feels better in this particular case. But I honestly don't see a single reason to use a shotgun unless you're on the CT side and you're holding some close quarters. And even then, if that's the case, what are the odds that they plan to another side and then how are you gonna push them with a shotgun? There's literally no way. Even if they don't have any automatic or sniper rifles and only come with sheriffs and a few SMGs, you will still have an incredibly hard time getting to that side and pushing it. Now let's talk about the sniper rifles. So, do you remember when you win a pistol round in CSGO and you do incredibly well and this one guy decides to buy an op in the second round? And then 30 seconds into the round he gets jumped by a person with a pistol? Yeah, so don't be that guy. Valorant offers you two options, Marshals and Operator, which is essentially a scout and an op from CSGO. The thing is, Marshal is kind of like whatever, and Operator is incredibly expensive. So, if you don't have an experience in using a sniper rifle, of course you can practice when you're winning 8-1, for example. But when there is a tight battle going on and you're spending 4,500 on an Operator instead of buying a Spectre for yourself and for your teammate, and then you get jumped by a person with a Spectre, yeah, that's when you know it wasn't the best idea. So, if you don't want to be roasted in the chat, I suggest you stay away from sniper rifles if you don't know how to use them. If you're good at them and you have been good at them when playing CSGO, go ahead, but just know that the controls are a little different and the feel is a little different. And don't forget to get that pistol, because when you miss that shot and somebody is running at you, the last thing you want to do is reload and try again without scope. So, for somebody who knows how to use an Operator, it's clearly the best game and you can hold the site essentially by yourself, no problem. But unless we're on a pro level, it's incredibly hard and there are odds that somebody will headshot you with a Vandal before you manage to land a shot. And don't forget, you miss one shot, you essentially lost. So, long story short, don't spend 4,500 when you can buy a Phantom for yourself and a Spectre for your teammate. Okay, next, I guess we should talk about the heavies, the machine guns. I've been playing for quite a while and I haven't noticed too many people using them, and I say thank you guys. Thank you for looking after your team, not spending money on useless guns. Well, it's not always the case, but heavies are something else. Similar to Nigav in CSGO, there are only a handful of cases where you should get a machine gun. And that is if all 5 players are pushing one side every single time, this kind of stuff. And remember that Valorant has different spray patterns, so where you can use Nigav as a laser beam to essentially fight an Opper that's really far away. Neither Ares nor Odin can do the same thing. In fact, they're very similar to rifles, where your accuracy is good at the beginning in your first few shots, but then it decreases as the time goes on, and it decreases rapidly. I'm not even going to say something like, oh, if you don't know how to use a machine gun, don't use it. No, in this case, just don't use them. It's that simple. Just spend this money on something else that's better, aka SMG or a rifle. And finally, we're getting to rifles. I left them till the end just because rifles are clearly the essence of FPS shooters and we probably want to dedicate a tiny bit more time to them. So let's go. So we got Bulldog, Guardian, Phantom and Vandal. Let's start from the cheapest one, the Bulldog. As you can imagine, it's lower in specs than Guardian, Phantom and Vandal. The only really interesting thing I found about it is when you scope, it turns into burst mode, which makes things a ton more interesting, especially if you're trying to pick somebody who's far away, essentially. At 116 damage to the head, if the person is wearing even the light shield, you're not gonna score a headshot, which is close to every round after the first round. However, it can prove really good if you don't wanna use an SMG, but you wanna use a rifle, but you don't have any money. However, I suggest just saving a little bit, grabbing a Spectre, and you'll have money for a Phantom or Vandal in the next round. Okay, now the Guardian. As the name suggests, you probably want to use it on a CT site when holding a certain point. While it's a very, very slow gun, it packs so much punch that sometimes it pays off. However, at only 200 points difference between Guardian and Phantom, for example, I would always pick Phantom. So if you only have to hold a specific point at a bomb site that's kind of far away, so you can hold it with a shotgun, for instance. It's a good idea. It will definitely hold off the enemies. However, as I said, if I could spend 200 extra, I would buy a Phantom, for instance. And now the infamous battle between Phantom and Vandal. It's a little copy of AK-47 and M4 in CSGO. So, similar to AK, Vandal has a little bit of a crazier spray pattern that you have to get used to. But remember, we're playing Valorant, not CSGO, so spray patterns are a little bit random. Of course, it's incredibly appealing that the damage you deal doesn't drop whether the enemy is right next to you or 50 meters away. However, there is a trade-off, just like in every game, and that's because the fire rate of Vandal is 9.25 rounds per second when not zoomed, comparing to 11 that Phantom can deliver. On top of that, Phantom comes with 5 more bullets, which isn't a deal breaker, but it's really nice to have more bullets if you can. And as an example, remember the M4 versus M4 1S with a silencer in CSGO? So it's a similar story, right? If I was to suggest you the best gun, I would definitely go with Phantom. While Guardian, for instance, is an insane rifle, it's not universal at all. With its super slow fire rate, if somebody comes to you with an SMG and they get close enough, or a shotgun, or even a pistol, there is a slight chance that you won't actually stand a chance. And I mean, when we're comparing a gun that's almost as expensive as the Phantom, it's really not worth the investment. I encourage you to experiment when your team is doing good or when you're playing unranked. But if you're playing ranked that has not actually been released yet in the open Valorant, then just don't use it if you don't know how to. And now the Bulldog. Why I think you shouldn't spend money on a Bulldog in most cases is because you lack movement. And when your team is eco, for instance, it means that the other team is actually doing great. And going Bulldog against Vandal or an Operator or a Phantom, the favorable outcome is actually quite unlikely. So if you're going eco, once again, just grab an SMG or a Sheriff and you're good to go. Never sacrifice your armor, for example, for a better gun. Unless that's what your team has decided on. So let's draw the conclusion now. If you're picking between pistols for the first round, pick a Ghost. More often than not, that's gonna be the best choice. If you're trying to push aside, grab a Frenzy and some light shields. And if it's an eco round or an actual round and you just have an op and you need a pistol on the side, grab a Sheriff. If you want to die really quickly and you don't really care about the game or you want to lose it, just grab a shorty and go ahead. If your enemy is more than a meter away, you will likely miss your 2 shots and get shot. Now let's talk about SMGs and shotguns. Don't pick shotguns unless you have a set plan and you're holding close quarters. Grab an SMG if you're on a T site every time, if that's an eco round. Don't go for a shotgun because pushing a site with a shotgun is incredibly hard unless you know the enemy is hiding in that tight quarter and you can actually cut a corner and get him real quick. Which is impossible unless you're hacking. Now sniper rifles and heavies. If you have 3200 points, just don't buy Odin, just get a Phantom. And if you have 1600, just get a Spectre. Just don't use heavy machinery. Now the snipers. As we talked about it, Operator is really expensive, so if you know how to use it and you know you can benefit your team, go for it. If not, just grab a Phantom and buy your teammate a Spectre or buy some abilities, for example. Marshall, I've seen people who play with Marshall and are really good, but in most cases than not, people just waste money on it. Now the rifles, we already talked about it. I think the best rifle is a Phantom. It's my personal opinion and Vandal fanboys will probably disagree with me. However, I believe that increased fire rate and increased magazine capacity is a good trade-off for a little bit of damage decrease over distance. Does it make sense? Awesome. Alright guys, this is everything for today. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe to our channel. If you have any questions, please comment, we'll answer you, we answer everybody, cause what else do you do, right? Thank you for watching once again, and remember to always follow your instinct. Bye bye.